Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Beis Amud Beis 2b of Maseches Megillah, and we are starting from the very bottom of the page. 3 lines from the bottom. In the middle of the line it says Ve'amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Ve'itema Rabbi Chia bar Abba. So we had previously just quoted a statement from Rabbi Yirmiyah, and some say that it was Rabbi Chia bar Abba. So, therefore, the Gemara now goes off on a bit of a tangent to quote other statements made by the same person, and so it's not related to Purim or the Megillah, but it's something that the same Amora said. Says the Gemara, Ve'amar Rabbi Chia bar Ve'itema Rabbi Chia bar Abba Minatzpach or Mansapach. It's an acronym, different ways you can pronounce it. Sofim Amrum. So, Mansapach, if you pay attention and you look at those letters, those are all the letters in the Aleph Beis that are different when they're the last letter. They are, there's a Mem Sophis, a Nun Sophis, a Tadik Sophis, etc. Or in Yiddish they say an Ender Mem. When it's the last letter of the word, the letter changes. So the Gemara says that it was the Tzofim who taught this. What are Tzofim? Tzofim means like to see. Rashi understands that Tzofim means the Nevi'im, the Nevi'im of the generations. At some point, there's a lot of discussion in the Rishonim already, where it was, when it was, but it was the Nevi'im who introduced these letters. There's also a question of, do we mean they introduced the way it looks when it's at the end of a word, or the way it looks when it's at the beginning. Actually, from our Gemara, I think it's pretty clear that what we're suggesting is that they introduced that it's different at the end of a word, as we'll see in a moment. So it was the Tzofim, was the Nevi'im who taught that these letters should be different when they're at the end of a word. Ask the Gemara of Tisbara, but does that even make sense? V'haksiv, but the pasuk says, Eila hamitzvos. It says, Eila hamitzvos Shiva Hashem es Moshe b'nei Yisrael b'Har Sinai. I think this is if I'm not mistaken, this is the very last pasuk of Sefer Vayikra. I might be mistaken about that, but it says these are the mitzvos that Hashem commanded Moshe at Har Sinai. So it's saying these are the mitzvos. The mitzvos that Hashem commanded Moshe are the mitzvos, and she'ein navi rashai lechadesh davar me'ata. That a navi is not allowed to initiate something new in Torah. Okay, we can have rabbinic law. That's not within the framework of Torah law. That's kind of outside. But within the framework of Torah law, a navi, a prophet, anybody after Moshe Rabbeinu is not allowed to initiate something new. And I suppose the implication is that having these letters has Torah implications. How you write the letters could be important on a Doraisa level even. And how could they introduce something new? Ve'od, and furthermore, ha'amar Rav Chisda said, Mem v'samach shebeluchos b'neis hayu omdin. That the mem and the samach in the luchos, in the tablets, stood through a miracle. Now we know, from the psukim really, that the letters of the luchos were carved all the way through. So, let's take a samach for example. A samach is a circle, basically. But it has a space in the middle. If you're going to make bubble letters, so you would make one circle and then another circle inside, and you need that dot in the middle. And so if it was carved all the way through in the luchos, how did you have that dot in the middle? So Rav Chisda says it was a miracle. It was a b'nei sayom, they stood through a miracle. And so too, the mem in the luchos. And again, does it mean every mem, or does it mean the end mems? But either way, a regular mem doesn't have is not a circle, doesn't need that space in the middle. It's specifically the mem sophist, when a mem appears at the end of a letter, of a word. So it's kind of like a box, and it has that dot or that space in the middle. So the sort of Chizah says it's still with the miracle, but the implication is that therefore that these letters, the Mem Sofis, already existed at the time that Moshe received the Luchos. So how could we be saying it was something that was initiated by later prophets if we also say that it already existed in the Luchos? So the Gemara says in Mahava Havu, Gemara says yes, they were already existent early on when the Torah was given. But at some point they lost track and didn't know which one was which. Is the Mem Sophis, again like the square Mem, is that, and the same with all the other letters, the end letter, the way it looks when we write it as an end letter, is that how it's supposed to look at the end of a word or in the middle of a word? So which one's which? We have two ways that a Mem or a Tzadik or a Pei or all these letters can look. Which one goes in the middle, which one goes at the end? That's what they lost track of. And the Asur Tzofim v'Takinu, and the Tzofim, the Nevi'im came and they established Pesuchin be'emtza Teva Ustumim b'Sof Teva. The open ones, at least in the case of the Mem, is in the middle. If it's an open Mem, it's not the box, then it's in the middle of a word. And if it's and Stumin, when it's sealed, when it's closed, that is when it's at the end of a word. And I suppose the same would be true for all the other ones. The way we have them, they came and established that. It's a difficult thing to understand, the Gemara's suggestion that they didn't know what was what. How could they not have known? Didn't they have Sifrei Torah? Couldn't they just open up their tefillin? So this is again a question that that is struggled with in the commentaries. But the Gemara still isn't happy with this answer because sof, at the end of the day, Eila ha-mitzvos. It still says these are the mitzvos she'ein navi asid l'chadesh davar me'ata, or is not allowed to. A navi is not allowed to initiate something new. So again, the way that the Gemara answered it was they lost tracks. The Nevi'im came and they said, okay, let's do it this way. They weren't, but they're initiating it again, because if it wasn't that way, then they're starting something new. So how could they do that? So rather, the Gemara comes to a conclusion, and it says, Shachachum v'chazru v'yistum. What happened was, they forgot, and they went, and they forgot how it was supposed to be, and the Nevi'im were the ones who reestablished it. So, and again, we come back to our question, like, how could they have forgotten? Couldn't they just pop open their tefillin or their, or a Sefer Torah, and checked what it looked like, and that way they could know if, they could know if which ones are in the middle, which ones are at the end. So one possible approach, which the Ritva suggests, is that until the days of Ezra, they wrote everything using Ksav Ivri. We write now with Ksav Ashuris. That's the script that we use in the Sefer Torah and in Tefillin and everything. So, and in Ksav Ashuris, so there's a difference between a mem and the beginning mem and the end mem, the beginning tzaddik and end tzaddik, etc. But in Ksav Ivri, there's no differentiation. There's no end letters. So if they were using Ksav Ivri, again, it's a different font, a different type of text. Up until then, so they didn't have Ksav Ashuris, so they may have lost track of what of how it's supposed to be, and so the Gemara's conclusion is that the Nevi'im who established what a beginning letter looks like and what the end letters look like, it wasn't that they were inventing it anew, but rather it was something that was lost, and they were able to, it doesn't say how, if it was through prophecy, that would present its own questions, but they somehow were able to bring it back, and but they weren't inventing something new, they were just restoring it to its original state. Okay. And while we're quoting the same Amora, let's quote another thing. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, and some say it was Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Targum shel Torah, Unklos hager amro mipi Rabbi Eliezer, v'Rabbi Yoshua. The Aramaic translation of Torah, what we call Targum Unklos, right? It's printed on the side of most Chumashim. So where'd that come from? So it says that Unklos hager, Unklos, the convert, he was a Roman convert. He's the one who brought us this translation, and he learned it from Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. Again, it's a little bit more than a translation. It's interpretation. It explains things, and that's where it comes from. Unklos introduced it from his learning from Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. Targum shel Nevi'im, the Aramaic translation we have in Sifrei Nevi'im, on Navi, Yonasan ben Uziel Amro. It was Yonasan ben Uziel who taught that. That's Targum Yonasan. And he has it Mipi, Chagai, Zachariah, and Malachi. He received it from the Nevi'im, the prophets, Chagai, Zachariah, and Malachi. Now Yonasan ben Uziel never saw these people in his life. He was much after them. But what it means is, Maharsha says that the tradition was received from them. And he's the one who, I guess, put it to paper. And I'm not sure if he actually put it to paper. He's the one who maybe taught it to people. It was maybe originally reserved for very few people, and he revealed it. And when he did, V'nizdaza Eretz Yisrael arba me'os parsa arba me'os parsa. And the Eretz Yisrael, which we call it, that's the size of 400 parsa by 400 parsa, which is a measurement, the whole place shook. When Yonasan ben Uziel revealed the translation of Nevi'im, of Navi, the whole Eretz Yisrael shook. Yatzta Baskol v'Amar, and a Baskol, a heavenly voice, came out and said, Mihu zeh shegilas Yisrael livnei Adam. Who's this who has revealed my secrets to mankind? Amad Yonasan ben Uziel al Raglav. Yonasan ben Uziel stood up. He heard this Baskol, this heavenly voice. He stood up and he said, V'Amar, and he said, Anihu shegilis Yisrael livnei Adam. I'm the one who revealed your secrets to people. But galoi v'yadua lefanecha, but it is revealed and known before you, Hashem, shelo lichvodi asisi, that I did not do this for my own honor, v'lo lichvod beis Abba, and not for the honor of my father's house, for my family, elo lichvodcha asisi. I did this for the honor of you, Hashem, for your honor, God. Why? Shelo yarbu machlokes beYisrael, so that there is not a increase, or there's not a lot of machlokes of debate within Israel, because people would debate the meaning of the psukim of the verses in Navi, and I set the record straight by revealing this tradition from the Nevi'im. V'od bikesh l'galos targum shel ksuvim. Then Yonasan ben Uziel wasn't done. He wanted to also reveal the translation, interpretation of the verses of ksuvim, of the writings. Yatzta Baskol ve'amralo. Now a heavenly voice came out and said, Dayecha, enough, no more. My taima. What's the reason? Why was this apparently like a more severe thing that the Baskol had, the heavenly voice had to prevent him from revealing it? Mishum de ispe kates Mashiach, because within the Targum of Ksuvim is the revelation of the time of Mashiach, of when that's going to be. And that, Hashem did not want that to be revealed. Okay, now the Gemara returns to what it said, that the translation of Torah, the Aramaic translation of the Chumash, came from Unklos. Asked the Gemara, B'targum shel Torah Unklos hager amro. Did he really teach, was he really the originator of the Targum of Torah? V'ha'amar Ika bar Avin, Amar Rav Chananel, Amar Rav, but Rav Ika bar Avin says the name of Rav Chananel. The name of Rav, Mai Dichsiv. What is the meaning of the following pasuk? The pasuk says, it's in Nehemiah, it says, Vayikru ba'sefer, b'toras ha'elokim. They read in the Sefer, Toras Elokim, the Torah of God, Miforash, explicit or explained, V'som seichel, and kind of placing their intellect, vayavinu b'mikra, and they read and they understood the verses. What are each of these things? So the Gemara breaks it down. This is the statement of Rav Ika bar Avin in the name of Rav Chanan, in the name of Rav. What are these different parts of this pasuk? Vayikru b'sefer Torah Elokim. He says they read in the Sefer Torah Zemikra. That means they read the verses. Miforash, when it says that it was explained Zetargum, that means they read the translation. V'som sechel, and kind of they place their intellect Eloha psukim. That is where the either the verses break up or the paragraphs break up. They understood where's the end of a pasuk. Vayavinu b'mikra, and they understood the verses. Elu piskei taimim. That is the cantillations, the truck. Ve'amrila, and some say elu ha-mesores, that this is the mesores, which I assume refers to the exact letters of the Torah. Where's their avav, where's their nar avav, etc. But we have a question from this. Our question is that we said that Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba said, Rabbi Chia bar Abba said that Onkelos Hager was the one who revealed the Aramaic translation of Torah. On the other hand, we have a pasuk going back to the days of Nehemiah, which is much earlier, saying that there they translated it. It says, Vayikra b'sefer Torah Elokim Mefarash, and Mefarash we said means with the Targum, with the translation. Says the Gemara, Shachachom v'chazru v'yistam. Similar to what we said before. Yes, they had it earlier, it existed earlier, but it was forgotten, and it was kind of reestablished by Onkelos. And it seems again it was maybe kept, it wasn't well known, it was kept among the scholars maybe, and he's the one who popularized it. Okay. Now, the Gemara had said that when he revealed when Yonasan ben Uziel revealed the translation of the Nevi'im, the whole Eretz Yisrael shook. So, the Gemara asks, Maishna de'oraisa de'lo is daza, v'ad Nevi is daza. Why is it that when Onkelos revealed the translation of de'oraisa of the Torah, of the Chumash, we have no mention that the whole Eretz Yisrael shook. But when the translation of Nevi'im was revealed, the land shook. What's the difference? Explains the Gemara, De'oraisa mifarsha milsa. Because really the Torah, it's much more clear what it means. And I guess the translation wasn't as needed or as much of a shake-up, as much of a clarification, because the psukim themselves in the Torah, if you understand Hebrew, are not that hard to interpret. But in the Nevi'im, ikka mili dim mifarshan, there are things that are clear and explicit, v'ikka mili dim mistaman, but there's some things that are very closed, and you can't really know what they mean without a translation. For example, dichsiv. So the Gemara gives an example, and it quotes a pasuk in Zechariah. It says there, Bayomahu yigdal ha-mispeid b'Yerushalayim. On that day, the mispeid, the eulogizing, was so great in Yerushalayim, ki mispeid hadadrimon bibikas Megidon. Equivalent to the mispeid, to the hesped, the eulogy of Hadadrimon in the valley of Megidon. Ve'amar Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef says about this, Ilmale Targum Adaikra, if we didn't have the Aramaic translation, the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel on that pasuk, Lo Yadana Maika Amar, we would not know what it's actually saying. Rashi explains, because we don't find anywhere, right? The pasuk says it was like the hesped, the eulogizing of Hadadrimon in Bikas Megiddo. The problem is we don't know what that is. We don't find anywhere that Hadadrimon gave a hesped in Bikas Megiddo. So the answer can be found in Yonasan ben Uziel. It's referring to two different events. the misped, the hesped, the eulogizing in Yerushalayim on that day was as great as two different hespedim. Hahu biyomahu, on that day, yaski misped of Yerushalayim, the eulogizing, the mourning in Yerushalayim was so great, kim mispeda de Achav bar Amri, like the hesped, like the eulogy of Achav, the son of Amri, de katal yaseh Hadadrimon ben Tavrimon, who had been killed by Hadadrimon ben Tavrimon. It's not that he eulogized or was eulogized. Hadadrimon had killed Achav, and that's the first part of the pasuk, and that was Biramos Gilad. That hesped took place, that eulogy took place in Ramos Gilad. So it was so great, it was like that eulogy. Ukemispeda de Yoshia bar Ammon, and also like the hesped of Yoshia, the son of Ammon, Dekatal Yosei Paro Chagira Bikas Megiddo, who had been killed by Paro Chagira in the valley of Megiddo. So that's where we actually have, right, the pasuk had said, Bikas Megiddon, but we had associated that with Hadadrimon. So what the Targum Yom HaShem Ben Yosef reveals is no, it's two different things. There's Kemisped Hadadrimon, like the misped, like the hesped was so great in Yerushalayim that day, like the hesped of Hadadrimon, meaning like the hesped, like the eulogizing that took place when Hadadrimon killed Achav, and Bibikas Megiddo, and like the hesped of Yoshia bar Ammon, who was eulogized or killed in Bikas Megiddo. Okay. Now we have another idea that is expounded on by Rabbi Yirmiyah and some say Rabbi Chia bar Abba. V'ra'isi, it quotes a pasuk in Sefer Daniel, and it says, V'ra'isi ani Daniel levadi es hamare. Daniel says, I alone saw the vision. This is talking about a vision that Daniel saw. I think it's a famous vision about seeing animals and associating it with the Galios, the exiles. So he says, I alone saw the vision. But the men that were with me did not see the vision. But a great fear, trembling, fell upon them. And they ran to hide. That's the pasuk in Daniel. He says, I saw the vision, but the men with me didn't see the vision, but they got very scared nonetheless, and they ran to hide. Who are these people that were with Daniel? So here we have our Rabbi Yirmiyah again. It was the Nevi'im, Chagai, Zachariah, Malachi, they were with Daniel. When he saw his vision, they did not see it, but they were very scared, and they ran away. Says the Gemara, Inhu adifi minei, viyu adif minayu. In one way, they were greater than him, and in another way, he was greater than them. Inhu adifi minei, they were greater than him, de inhu nevi'im. They were prophets. Viyu lav navi'im, he was not a prophet. Daniel was not a prophet. But iyu adif minayu, but he was greater than them, de iyu chaza, because he saw this vision. I guess it wasn't considered a prophecy, but it was some kind of vision. Or it could be, Rashi kind of implies this, that maybe it was a prophecy, but they were prophets that were sent to share prophecy with Israel, with the Jewish people. And Daniel was never given a prophecy to share with the Jewish people. It could be that he was having a prophecy, but it wasn't one that he was supposed to come and share with the people. So he might have been a personal vision. So they were greater than him, that they were prophets, messengers of Hashem, and he wasn't. On the other hand, he was greater than them because he saw this vision and they did not see it. Okay. So ask the Gemara, so if they didn't see the vision, why were they scared? Why did they tremble and run away? Because says the Gemara, even though they didn't see it, but their overseeing angel saw it. And so it was like a subconscious thing that made them scared and run away without actually having seen it, but their angel saw it and therefore they ran away. Ravina says, Shema Mina, we can learn from that Haiman de Mivis, if a person's very scared of something and they don't know what, it could be that even though they don't see it, what it is that's scaring them, it could just be their mazel, their overseeing angel. Maitakante, what should a person do if they're in such a situation? What are they to do? Likri kriya shema. They should read the Shema. And that can provide them a protection. Now let's say they're in a place where it's too dirty, you're not allowed to read the Shema. You should move away 4 amos to where a far enough distance where you would be allowed to recite Shema. If that's not a possibility, so one should say the following, like a little incantation. Iza divetavchi shmeina minai. The goats in the slaughterhouse are fatter than me. In other words, if somebody's feeling scared, kind of a subconscious feeling, they don't know why, so it means their mazel, their overseeing angel, is sensing something. And whatever it is that's coming to harm them, they can say these words like, okay, go find a fatter goat to feed on. And that's the backup solution if they can't recite Shema. Okay. Now we go back to our discussion about reading the Megillah. So at the end of last week's Amud, the Gemara had said that there's a pasuk that says B'chol medina u'medina v'ir v'ir. Actually, it says mishpacha, medina, medina v'ir v'ir. Every family, every province, and every city. And the Gemara had come out that at least the part about medina v'ir v'ir, every province and city, there's a drasha. There was something to learn out from there. And the Gemara said you learn out that as long as you're close to a walled city, you read like a walled city, but you had a drasha. So the Gemara says, V'hasha da'amart medina v'ir v'ir drasha. Now that you're saying that there's a drasha, there's something to be learned out from when it says medina, every province, v'ir v'ir in every city. So mishpacha l'mayasa. What about when it says every family? What's that coming to teach me? Mishpacha. So Amar Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina Lahavi. So Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina says it's Lahavi. It's to teach you mishpachos kehuna ve'levia, that even Kohanite families and Levite families have to come hear the Megillah. Shemevatling avodasan ubayim lishma mikra Megillah. That even if they're in the middle of avoda, of service in the Beis Hamikdash, in the temple, they stop what they're doing and they come to hear Megillah if it's time. De'amar Rabbi Yudah Rav, because Rabbi Yudah said in the name of Rav, Kohanim v'avodasan. If Kohanim are doing the temple service, the Levim beduchling, and the Levim are on their platform singing for the Karban. V'Yisrael b'ma'amadam, and there's Yisrael, and there were always a group of Yisraels appointed to daven for the Karban to be accepted. So Kulan mevatlan avodasan ubayim lishma mikra Megillah. They all stop what they're doing in order to come hear Megillah, and that's why it says mishpacha, every family, even the Kohanim who are doing avoda, even the Levim who are singing, even the Yisraels who are doing the davening for the Maimad, all of them come to hear Megillah. Tanya Nami Hachi, we have a brisa that also teaches this. Kohanim ba'avodasan. If you have Kohanim doing avoda, doing service in the Beis Hamikdash, ulevim beduchnan, and Levim on their platform singing, the Yisrael b'ma'amadam, and the Yisraelim are davening, kuvan mevatring avodasan ubayim lishma mikra Megillah. They all stop what they're doing, and they come to hear the Megillah. And mikan samchu shel beis Rabbi, and from here, from this idea, the house of Rabbi relied on shemevatlan Talmud Torah ubayim lishma mikra Megillah. That we will, if somebody's learning, so they stop learning in order to come here the Megillah. Kal v'chomer me'avoda. He learns it using the logic of a kal v'chomer, a fortiori from avoda. From if you stop doing service in the Beis Hamikdash, then surely you stop learning Torah. Uma avoda shi chamura. If avoda, which is very chamur, very stringent, has lots of stringencies to it, mivatlinon, and yet we nullify it to come here. Megillah, Talmud Torah, or Kol Shekain. So learning Torah, which doesn't have as many stringencies connected to it, all the more so we should stop in order to come here, the Megillah. And the Gemara will next try to understand if that's a fair, logical deduction, or if really maybe Talmud Torah is greater than Avoda, and that's going to be the next discussion. But for now, we'll hold here.